Hi, welcome to this video on IELTS Reading. As you all know, IELTS Reading contains or involves a lot of question types. As you can see on the screen, multiple choice questions, short answer questions, completion tasks, and so on. And it's not necessary that you're going to get all of these question types in one test. But one question type that is sure to appear in any test, one of the question types I would say, it is multiple choice questions. Now this video is all based on multiple choice questions. So let's start. Now I would like to say that before getting into trying out solving this academic practice materials or your Cambridge practice materials for reading, we need to understand the basic underlying principle of multiple choice questions. How multiple choice questions come, or what is the purpose of multiple choice questions. So when it comes to multiple choice questions or MCQs, you'll be having the text, you'll have a question, and you'll have different options. Now, why students find MCQs challenging is that probably, unlike completion to kind of questions wherein they have to go through the passage and pick a specific information and write it as the answer. It's not like that when it comes to multiple choice questions. They have a variety of options, and from these options, they have to pick out the right answer. So then they get confused. They feel that like all the options seems to be right to them. Why students find MCQs challenging? That is, if it is a multiple choice question, what you need to do is that read through the passage and then locate the specific word or group of words that you have to fill in the answer and just substitute there. But when it comes to multiple choice questions, you have a list of options and you have to pick the most appropriate out of that. So that is challenging because when you go through the option, you might feel that all are right. Then how will I choose the most appropriate one? Now that is the basic principle that you need to identify. You have to actually go through the question and go through the passages very carefully, and you have to narrow down at the most appropriate option. I'll give a very simple example and see what goes wrong usually with students when they attempt multiple choice questions. Then, so that the next time when you do multiple choice question, you don't make the same mistake. Now here is a very simple and short paragraph. You can see a small section of a text, and here you have a few options. Now students mostly they focus on the options. They read the text, then they cross-check it with the options. They take the questions lightly, but it's very important that you have to pay equal attention to the question as well. Now here's the question. They just superficially read it. They might not focus on every single word in the question. In one glance, okay. So when they read the question, okay, what was reported by employees, they might be just focusing on specific words alone. And then they start comparing the options with the text. So the first option says better work-life balance. Yeah, I've seen that in the passage, better work-life balance. So that could be the answer. Then when they read the next option, reduce productivity. Okay, something regarding productivity of also I've seen. Decrease productivity, then that could also be the answer. Communication gaps with team members. Yes, communication gaps with the team members, that is also seen. So that can also be the answer. Internet issues. Internet issues have not seen in the text. So probably I can eliminate that. So that is not the right answer. But still I have got 3 options left. So what am I to do now? Then you decide to read the question once again. Okay, what was a problem reported by employees? So now you understand that you need to focus on the problem. When you read the first time, you might overlook certain words. That's why you are now left with a lot of options. But now when you consider this word problem, you understand that better work-life balance is of course not a problem, so that can be eliminated. Still, you have got 2 options left, reduce productivity and communication gap. Now I need to choose one. So what can be done? Should I be reading the question once again? Will I get anything further? What was a problem reported by a few employees? Now, will this few employees have anything to do with locating the answer? So one problem is reduced productivity and another problem is communication gap. Let me go back to the text. What does the text say? A few employees reported that they faced communication gaps with their team members while working from home, and One employee even said that the policy decreased productivity. So this decreased productivity or reduced productivity was reported by one employee. So can we relate one to a few? No. One can never be said as a few. So with that point, we conclude that our answer is the communication gap with the team members is the right answer, because reduced productivity was just reported by one employee and the question asks for what was reported by a few employees. That is how you need to come down, or you need to narrow down to the right answer. You need to focus on all the words, not all the words, the keywords we say them, whichever words will actually help you in locating the answer. So careful reading of the question is also equally important. It's not just that you read the text and you go through the options back and forth. No, that will not serve the purpose. You have to understand the question properly. So I hope that's clear. Now, this is something that you have to keep in mind throughout when you do MCQs. That is, when you choose an option, that option is true according to the text. As per the text, the option that you're choosing should be right. And not just that, does it correctly answer the question? Just like how we have seen, initially when we went through the options, we saw three options were right according to the text. But how did we reach the right answer? Based on how much it is correctly answering the question. So you have to consider both of these points to arrive at the right option while doing MCQs. Now, another aspect that you have to consider while doing MCQs is the method of elimination. Okay? That is, in some situations, you might not be able to spot out the right answer, but we might be able to eliminate the incorrect options. And by doing so, we will be left out with one option and then we can choose that as a right answer. So elimination technique is one important method that you should be applying while doing MCQs if you struggle with finding out the right answer. I'll show an example, a very simple example. You can see a short extract. Now, this is the extract you can see, and you can see the question and the different options. What is the question? The schools. You have to find some detail or information regarding the schools that should be there in the text, that should be right as per the text, and it should match with the question. And regarding the question type also, it can come in two forms. In the previous question, what we saw it as a question right here, but it's like a completion. The schools, and you have to complete that sentence. But it can also appear as a complete question. What was the major problem reported by a few employees? So it was a question there, but here it's kind of completion. So when it comes to MCQs, it can be in either ways. The questions can appear as a complete question or as a completion question. Now, here you have to find the specific information regarding schools, which is true. Now, here the passage or the text says that the academic year for the schools in the state starts in June. The average number of working days in an academic year is approximately 220. Then schools are mandatorily closed on Sundays and public holidays. Then it's ensured that at most 6 working days in a week. There are at most 6 working days in a week. There are few information regarding schools given in the text. Now let's cross-check it with the options and decide the right one. The first option says that the schools we have to connect and read. Okay, when questions are of this sort, we have to connect and read so that you get the full meaning. The schools have minimum 6 working days weekly. Minimum 6 working days weekly. Is it so? Here in the text it says that at most 6 working days, which means that maximum of only 6 working days are possible. So this actually contradicts the idea given in the text. So that can be eliminated. Then moving on to the next option. The schools get public holidays once every month. Now, there is a mention regarding public holidays that is schools should be mandatorily closed, or schools are mandatorily closed on Sundays and public holidays. But is it mentioned that in every month they get public holidays? No, it is not given. So for that reason, we can eliminate this as well. Then moving on to the third option. The schools work on Sundays occasionally. On some Sundays, the schools work. But what is given in this text? Schools are mandatorily closed on Sundays and public holidays, which means that schools will not function occasionally on Sundays. So this again contradicts what is given in the text. So for that reason, we can eliminate this as well. So we have eliminated 3 options, which means that D has to be the right answer. What does option D say? The schools can have varying working days in a week depending on public holidays. The schools can have varying working days. That is, the number of working days in a week can vary depending on public holidays. That is, if a public holiday comes in between, then the number of working days might not be 6. So that information is not directly given in the text. But the idea is fine. It is logical, but it's not directly given in the text. But it will be difficult for us to directly deduce or directly come down to this answer. But it's easier if you're trying to eliminate the options, which you can clearly do so. Either if it is contrasting or if no information regarding that particular detail aspect is not given in the text. So by doing so, we conclude that this is the right answer. So please keep in mind that elimination method should be employed when it comes to multiple choice question. Whichever you can straight away eliminate or cut out from the options, either because it is contrasting or no enough information regarding that specific option is not there in the text, then straight away you should be cutting them down. Now let's get into IELTS reading MCQs. So far I've given a basic principle or the basic idea of MCQs. Now the same thing applies for IELTS multiple choice reading questions as well. The same idea is going to be integrated there into IELTS reading MCQs. So when it comes to IELTS reading MCQs, I've just listed down a few details of IELTS reading MCQs that you need to know. The first aspect is, when it comes to MCQs, it can ask for a single option for you to select the most appropriate option or to choose more than one right answer. So you have to read the instruction and identify whether you have to find one single option or you have to find more than one right option. Then the question, as I've already mentioned, it can be in the form of a completion type of question or it can be a question and answer type of question. Then another thing is that this task normally consists of questions which focus on a particular section of the text rather than information which is spread throughout the text. So to find the answers for multiple choice question, it will not be necessary that you have to read the entire text or the entire passage and you have to find the meaning or to find the right answer. Now, when solving multiple choice question, to find the answer, you'll usually focus on specific areas of the text. Then the question normally comes in sets of 3 or 5 questions. That is, the question, you'll not have just one, isolated MCQ. Usually MCQs appears in a set, either in a set of 3 questions, as a set of 3 questions or a set of 5 questions. Then mostly the questions follow the order of the relevant information in the text, which means that the order in which the questions appear in the set of MCQs and the order in which the same information can be found in the text will mostly be the same. That is, after solving the first MCQ, you got the answer. Then when you're looking for the answer for the second MCQ, you have to look in the text just below where you have found the answer for the first question. That is how it goes, mostly. Then make sure the chosen option is not just true according to the text, but also correctly answer the question. This aspect is what we have seen initially. It's not just enough that the option which you have selected, it's there in the text. No, there might be multiple such choices, but you have to also ensure that the selected option is also rightly answering that question. Only then that will be the right answer. So these are the points that you need to keep in mind regarding IELTS reading MCQs. Now, regarding the strategy or approach as to how you should be solving MCQs, the first point is that you have to study the question. It's not read the question, study the question. So what you should be doing, careful reading. Carefully read the question and highlight the keywords. Now, what do you mean by keywords? Keywords are words or phrases which will help you in locating the answer. Now, keywords can be names, name of a person, country, or it can be years, numbers, or it can be quantifying words like we have seen in the example. A few employees. Instead of a few employees, if the quantifier was 1 employee, the answer would be different. So you should be focusing on such words as well. They're called as keywords. So as you read the question, you have to underline or highlight the keywords. Then briefly look through the options. It's not necessary that you have to thoroughly read the options like how we have read the question, because it's not going to serve the purpose. You might not be able to remember or recall all the options as you read the text. So just skim through the options so that you have an understanding what you can expect in the text. Then find the paragraph that contains the keyword. Based on the keywords that you have highlighted, you go to the passage and search for them. Then, once you have located that paragraph, now when you come back to the options, it's not necessary that you'll be immediately able to identify which is the right option. So what you have to do is you have to assess each option one by one and then find the answer. How will we assess that? Compare each option to the information in the passage. Take option A first and then compare it with the information that you have read in the text, whether it's matching, whether it's agreeing or disagreeing, or it does not provide a complete picture. Then eliminate incorrect options, just like how we have done. While comparing the option with the information in the text, if you feel they are contradicting or if enough information is not there regarding that option, then you can eliminate. Then look for synonyms, as words in the text are usually paraphrased. This also you have to keep in mind. You should not go for a word-to-word match. It's not necessary that you'll find the same words that you see in the options in the text. No, mostly it will be paraphrased. So that also you have to keep in mind. Synonyms will always be there. So don't just focus on finding the exact same word in the text as you see in the options. Then the last point when it comes to strategy is that consider all the options before you choose the answer. Maybe you look at option A, you feel that's not the right answer. Option B, that also you eliminate. Option C, you might feel, okay, this seems to be the right answer. Don't immediately conclude. Don't immediately finalize that as the right answer. Analyze option D as well and then conclude which is the right answer. Before arriving at the right answer, you have to go through all the 4 options. Now, based on what we have understood so far, shall we try an example from our Cambridge reading practice material? Okay, this is just a portion of the passage, and here you have a set of 3 questions based on the same. We're not going to solve all 3. Let's do the first and second one, and the third one I'm leaving it to you. Now, read the instruction carefully. Reading the instruction carefully is very, very important. Choose the appropriate letters A, B, C, or D. Choose the appropriate letters A, B, C, or D means you have to choose only one right answer. Write your answers in the boxes 1 to 3 on your answer sheet. Okay. What does the first question say? Research completed in 1982 found that in the United States, soil erosion. So here the keywords 1982, as I said, year is a keyword. Then the name of a place, a name of a country is also a keyword. So the question asks about soil erosion in United States, which was discovered in 1982. So using these keywords 1982 and United States, let's search in the text. So yes, you can see United States here and 1982 here. So let's read around it. Soil erosion, this area talks about soil erosion. Soil erosion threatens the productivity of land in both rich and poor countries. The United States, where the most careful measurements have been done, discovered in 1982 that about 1/5 of its farmland was losing topsoil at a rate likely to diminish the soil's productivity. Okay. Then the country subsequently embarked upon a program to convert 11% of its cropland to meadow or forest. Topsoil in India and China is vanishing much faster than in America. Actually, one more thing we could have done, that is, as I mentioned earlier, you study the question carefully. So that is, you have to find out about soil erosion, which was discovered regarding the soil erosion in the United States, which was discovered in a research in 1982. That's what we have to find out. And we have to quickly go through the options. We can quickly go through the options as well. What does option say? The research found out that it reduced the productivity of farmland. Productivity was reduced by 20%. Then option B says that it was almost as the soil erosion in US was as severe as in India and China. Then option C says it caused significant damage to 20% of the farmland. Option A also contained a percentage and C also contains percentage. Now, what is the difference? Option A says that the productivity was reduced by 20%. Option C says that 20% of the farmland was affected. Then option D says that the study or the research found out that the soil erosion could be reduced by converting cultivated land to meadows and forest. So just skim through the options and then get back to the passage using the keywords. So this much portion we have already read, and now some of the words that you've seen in the options are also seen here. Now let's analyze the options one by one. Regarding the first option, reduce productivity of farmland by 20%. Was it discovered? So what does it say? About 1/5 of its farmland. 1/5 means that it's 20%. Okay, so that's paraphrasing. About 20% of its farmland was losing topsoil at a rate likely to diminish the soil's productivity. So which means that this part says that 20% of the farmland was losing its productivity because of soil erosion. So here it talks about reduce the productivity of farmland by 20%. Productivity was not lost by 20%, but 20% of the farmland's productivity was lost. So this option we can eliminate. Now, since we have already read about percentage, we can say that this might be the right answer, but let's not conclude before going through all the options. Let's put it on hold. Cause significant damage to 20% of the farmland. That's what we just read in the text. Then option B, the soil erosion in US was almost as severe as in India and China. But what did the text say? In topsoil in India and China is vanishing much faster than in America, which means that in America it is less. So it is contradicting, so we can eliminate option B. Then moving on to option D, could be reduced by converting cultivated land to meadows or forest. We have read something of that sort in that area. What did it say? The country subsequently embarked upon a program to convert 11% of its cropped land to meadow or forest. So why not that is the right answer? Here what is said, the country subsequently embarked, that is after discovering that this is the problem, that is because of soil erosion, the productivity has reduced. 20% of the farmland has lost its productivity. After discovering that, the country decided to start on this program. But as per the question, does it convey that meaning? Now, option D says that research completed in 1982 found that in the United States, soil erosion could be reduced by converting cultivated land to meadow or forest. It was not discovered in the study. In the study, it was discovered that soil erosion caused significant damage to 20% of the farmland. And then what did they do? After discovering that, they started on this program. So for that reason, this information does exist in the text, but it does not answer the question rightly. So for that reason, we should be eliminating this as well. And we can conclude option C is the right answer. So this is how you have to approach multiple choice questions. Hope you found this video helpful and you would be applying the strategy next time when you attempt multiple choice questions. Thank you.
MedCity International Academy. Trusted hands forever.